So I was pretty much depressed. Oh. People are welcome. Welcome to such violence.
The last episode of Discovery Season 2. Such sweet violence.
Clever Orbits. We are Clever Orbits, and of course we deformed the title because we got bored with them just repeating the last one from last week.
Yeah, they couldn't even come up with a new title. But look, there were a lot of bullets and lasers flying through space, and little drones. Explosions. It was out of control. It was like like a.
This is the most complicated space battle ever depicted on Star Trek.
It was an extravaganza of space violence.
And no doubt you loved and enjoyed every single moment of it.
Well,
violence qua violence is your favorite flavor.
It is. I mean, it wasn't very explicit violence, unfortunately. But I was thinking, remember when space battles, especially in Star Trek, were based on submarine battles?
The way Battlestar Galactica does it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a lot more what it's actually going to be like when there are space battles eventually. It's going to be a lot more submarine-like and a lot less I don't know what this was. Some kind of firefight, some kind of World War II firefight, or drone-based swarm fight.
Well, I mean, I think the real question that this episode seeks to answer is, what will violence be like in the future?
That's true.
Maybe that's us finding some redeeming silver lining for just the depiction of violence.
Yeah. So what's your moment of empathy here?
Oh God. Well, I actually did have a couple.
Okay.
He sheepishly says, okay, I believe you. Let's see what you got. Spock and Burnham. Spock actually says, I love you in Vulcan to his sister. And how this is actually the redemption for the show so far, is that Burnham and Spock are mirrors for one another. And the such sweet sorrow of the title is the willingness for his heart to open again, even if just for a second, and even if only for his sister, for him to begin to touch and experience the empathy that he closed off in himself those many years ago. And it becomes a very stark contrast between the way of his mother and the way of his father. And he's aware of the philosophical difficulty that he embodies. And it adds a wrinkle or a loop-de-loop, a curlicue, whatever you want to call it, to the past history of Spock between the Cage and the original series that makes it interesting. So he's conscious of the acute, not bipolar, but perpendicularity of his personality. And she is there to reflect that and to draw out the human side and to make him aware of what's possible there. And her commission to find somebody, the person who's farthest from you, which we could debate this. Is it McCoy or is it Spock or is it Kirk? I don't know. Probably it would be McCoy, which is why he continues to engage with McCoy throughout the series rather than just making him wrong and walking away and ignoring everything he says. That commission, especially followed by Spock unapologetically and unabashedly saying, I love you. At least that's what I assume he said. It could have been, fuck you up the ass, because it was in Vulcan.
And the response is, I love you too.
I mean, the response, we just don't know. We just don't know. What are those words? We just don't know.
Is there going to be a word for love in the Vulcan language?
Maybe. One would hope. I mean, I guess I would hope. That's my human bias speaking. But anyway, I felt compassion for Spock in that moment, losing Burnham, and for Burnham losing Spock now that he's got her back, or now that she's got him back. And I felt like a lot of people online argue that the moments of deep, like people crying and all of this that we had last episode were not earned. Like we didn't get enough of the characters or enough of their arc or their motion towards having these feelings for those to be merited. And you know, I don't really resonate with those. I'm a big sucker for for what appears to be compassion, regardless of the work done to get there. Because if it opens the human heart, then that's the whole point. That makes me really happy.
However, way to open the human heart.
The Indiana Jones way.
Violence.
Maybe. That sounds scary, Richard.
I mean physically. Anyway, go ahead.
With weapons? Okay, yeah, no. I promise you there will be a return to violence in the course of this episode.
Oh, there will be. There will be.
We need to be on brand. Give me a chance to be on brand first. So, this moment of integration, and so I ended up, I'll just spoil it, I ended up at an 8.5 out of 10 for this episode, and it was at a 7.5 before that moment of compassion. The episode was so vapid, insipid, and lifeless when it came to just being a depiction of space battles for me, without philosophical content, that it was 7.5. But then you got the moment of compassion, and I was like, well, okay, if it's feeding the same, welcome, Tyler.
It's good to be here, guys. Hello.
Hello. We're talking about the deep emotional aspects of this episode.
Which you may be skeptical of their existing any overall, but our listeners just heard about the moment of compassion. So,
well,
my moment of compassion was that Michael Burnham had to deal with that frustrating user interface on the Red Angel suit.
It didn't look particularly frustrating.
No one likes a clunky interface.
The ticking clock in this episode was, will she figure out how to navigate this confusing user interface fast enough to create a wormhole?
No, it was
a user experience problem.
Yeah.
Richard, with you and I, pretty much everything can be reduced to the structural integrity of vegan food and user experience interface problems. These are the two fundamental questions facing our age.
There's a third fundamental question, too.
Why would someone shoot a man before throwing him out of a plane?
We're still working on that.
Tyler, do you have
Why would a man put a bathroom? I mean, screw that up. Why would a man put cameras in all of the bathrooms?
I mean, I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, that one's
the solution to a number of problems.
My God. Do you even hear yourself, man?
I'm really excited that we're going to be doing the original, Star Trek TMP movie soon. It'll be a great follow-up to all this discovery.
Violence?
For the 5 minutes
no
of movie and the 2 hours of Enterprise introduction?
Well, I mean, I did my taxes the last time I watched that scene.
Oh my God, I wrote,
and it was still going on, and then I came back, and it was like, oh, that was great. That was very convenient. It gave me just enough time.
It's just the Enterprise very slowly going into a metaphorical vagina for 2.5 hours, very slowly.
Yeah.
The Red Letter Media review of this episode makes that painfully clear and obvious. So back to this episode. We'd done the moment of compassion, which sadly there was just one. I guess they ran out of compassion given last week's proliferation.
They overdid it.
You can have compassion or you can have photon torpedoes.
What level of photon torpedoes have the capacity for empathy?
That's right. to power the weapons, they run on empathy. So it has to suck. You have to suck the empathy out of the human relations and charge up your lasers.
It's an ethical gray area. Okay. Well,
the violence was very pretty.
What do you think about that red
extremely
line?
Beautiful. What's that?
What do you think about that cinematography where like the line gets split by the screen gets split by a red line?
Oh yeah, that was interesting. I more liked the spinny thing at the very beginning.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
The way the camera was spinning, that was pretty cool.
The way the wormhole in space.
That was cool.
That was
the camera pans and it looks two-dimensional in nature.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
A lot. Well, I was thinking like, here we go. We had another wormhole that's presented as a 2D hole in space. We all know a wormhole is going to be a 3D hole in space, like in Interstellar, right? But they redeemed it because it's a hole. It is a 2D hole, but when you go through it, you see that space is actually also 2D when you're going through it. So it's actually pretty cool.
I think they were aware, maybe. Who knows? I'll have to dig deeper.
I think they were vaguely aware. They were enough aware.
I mean, the whole point of this was to be a different thing than all that came before the series itself. So kudos to them. Yeah, I appreciated that too. It was a cool effect.
Interestingly,
the sparks hitting Burnham's face. It's really real sweat coming down her face.
Speaking of the motion picture, they repeated the effects for being in a wormhole that they used in the motion picture, where everybody's faces and the light from everybody's faces kind of gets pulled.
Almost as
and
if
streaks.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Almost
cool.
as if their bodies were being
straightened out or
do
something.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And then, Richard, was that like roughly scientifically accurate, the depiction of the wormhole? And of course,
no,
what was in the wormhole?
It wasn't accurate, but it was conceptually cool. Because, like, for the wormhole to appear as a 2D hole, that would mean space would have to be 2D. And when they go in the wormhole, it looks like space is turned into a 2D plane. So, it's in the direction of correct. But I think the only correct wormhole in media is in Interstellar. Because that one's actually modeled using the equations of general relativity.
I did enjoy the way that she was terrorized by being in the wormhole.
It should be scary.
I mean, it was very interesting and yeah.
Yeah, we've already seen Spock flow through space experiencing, well, not a wormhole, but, just a suit being inside of a very unknown entity until that point, I would say.
I am penetrating into V'ger's inner sanctum.
Yeah, just like that.
Orifice.
Always say it
they
like
use
that.
the word orifice.
Yeah, I'll bet they do. They do.
I use that word.
And Burnham has just got zero Spock calm, so she's completely
whole
unprepared.
Thing,
it's great.
This whole thing about a single person in a flying spacesuit, it's a very Kelvin timeline thing, and it's been used a lot lately. It was used a lot earlier this season. It was used in a Darkness. It was used in the 2009 movie. And that combined with this proliferation of sci-fi action had me depressed about what Star Trek has become. Now, I mean, the quality, the cinematography, and then the visuals, it was cinematic quality. It was great. Awesome visuals, terrifying in a really interesting way, we've already mentioned, beautiful and horrific. But I had this sense of oh, crap, is this what Star Trek has become? Science fiction action? It was disappointing, again, until I got the moment of compassion that we mentioned. And then also, there was another moment of compassion between Stamets and Culber. I kind of liked that. That was kind of sweet. Yeah.
My home is with you.
In fact, I really love Stamets' acting in this scene. Like the moans and the vague, not quite English at all sounding sounds he made, very, very entertaining.
Yeah, it disturbed me to the point where I'm thinking, oh, Stamets is either dead or permanently disfigured. So, yeah, I agree with that. His acting was convincing.
Maybe the whole next season is going to be the crew of the Discovery in the future recovering from their horrific injuries and going through like rehab and like going through therapy because they don't look like they used to look and that kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah. God, the wormhole's going to screw them up something fierce, isn't it?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be something like them redeeming the now disfigured Vidraesh Federation, bringing it back to its roots and turning it into something that's not engaged in a war on other humans, on colony worlds.
You guys
like we see from
peace and cooperation.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it'll hopefully be more interesting than just that.
They really got to fix that shit first.
And then those guys are all like, oh yeah, we forgot about that. Okay.
That ship is it's taken so much beating.
Well, also now they can
be like
spore
Enterprise.
drive literally. They can spore drive literally anywhere they want. Anywhere.
Oh, yeah. They could go to a place where repairs could be, well, they got to get the lay of the land and remap the galaxy in the 33rd century.
We can talk all about the next season in a second. Now,
yeah.
Who liked Pike's very simple speech at the beginning?
This is Starfleet. Get it done.
I loved it so much.
A lot of Picard, hint of Archer. What else? You could argue that there's some Cisco in there.
We've had a lot
really
of
Archer. His face is
like fourth season Archer.
Yeah.
I think the writers intuited that we're done with inspiring speeches, and so is the crew.
Most of the episode was nonstop action, so I think maybe there was a speech, and then when they realized how much time it was going to take to really depict the events they needed to, like, Anson, we're going to cut like 3/4 of the speech.
No. Did you know that do you guys know the production history behind this episode? This was added midway through the season. They decided, or near the end of production, they decided, all right, we don't have enough space. We need to create another episode. And then they apparently padded and or lengthened the last episode. And this one, they made larger. So they turned one episode into 2 episodes. So maybe what was a more potent single finale, it could have been a little bit shorter, whatever,
got bloated.
Yeah, maybe it got bloated.
Got over
with violence.
That's right. It was violent. It was force fed.
Was it worth it to see Georgiou laughing at Leland in that chamber?
Maybe.
That was pretty good.
Really? So Richard, you know what we're going to give you? We're going to give you the moment of violence for each episode.
All right.
You're cold and calculated enough.
If this show continues the way that you're going to be responsible for the rest of our adventuring through all of the Star Trek series.
That's good.
You get to clarify.
Have the moment of compassion. I'll have the moment of incredible violence.
There are going to be so many. There are going to be
a lot.
Many.
Empathy isn't necessarily the opposite of violence.
Yeah, you can be empathetic and violent.
I'm just going to leave that comment there without any elaboration.
Good call.
What'll be interesting is when violence and compassion coincide.
Can you be really compassionately violent?
Yes, you can.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, I guess, discipline.
Protection, defense.
I know something about that.
Yes, bad man preying on a weak person.
Yeah, Richard was telling me about the martial art he's learning. It's primarily for defense, right? Bhagwan, what was it?
It's primarily defense. It's based around evasion and defense more than attacking.
Ooh, physics.
Oh, to return to something that isn't primarily based in violence. And by the way, gentlemen, it's great to have you both here. It's like we got the family back, ready to go into the future.
Pleasure to be back. Yeah.
Ready to go on a death mission.
So anyway, going back to the single person flying, in a spacesuit that we see in the wormhole and that we see throughout this episode, it gets more interesting when you consider that, and this is a very 2001: A Space Odyssey-like series of visuals, incidentally, very interstellar, all of this. When you consider that space travel through a wormhole might be this really weird, disturbing thing, like the pure philosophy, and this may, now that you guys got my attention on it, may redeem the episode to the point where I might be willing to watch it again. The horrors, maybe like Lovecraftian kind of horrors of just actually experiencing travel through time. It might, in fact, be something that is this interesting and this disturbing. And what does it mean? What is it Burnham's mother says? The human body was not meant to travel through time. And thank God for this specific alloy in the suit that protects us from all the wild changes in temperature and atmosphere and gravity and
the temporal psychosis.
Yeah, you could get temporal psychosis. Oh, yeah, we got to get back to that Section 31 temporal theory at some point. But, it's interesting to imagine the Department of Temporal Investigations, like, engaged in protracted war against Section 31. We'll just leave that there. That's a book that someone should write that I'd be very entertained by. Someone should tell Christopher Bennett. So, you can see on Spock's face how much he loves and cares for his beloved sister. You can see it at the very end of the episode when he's looking at that seventh signal. And I thought that Ethan Peck is absolutely masterful as Spock because I can see it on his face, but probably most people can't see it on his face, and that is Spock. Spock is depth of subtle emotion in plain view for those who want to see and find it, but mostly indiscernible given the depth of the subtlety of it. Do you guys? Could
be the montage effect. Have you heard about this? It's this cinematography idea. Some Russian, in the early days of movies in the 1920s, some Russian guy had this theory about how people perceive emotion in movies, and what he did was he showed like a movie clip of a funeral, and then some guy's face, and asked, what emotion does that guy have? And they said, he has a really subtle, deep sadness. And then he showed a picture of like a happy party, and he showed a guy's face, and they asked the audience, what did you perceive? And they said, he's really happy inside. And it was the same face. It was exactly the same face.
Ryan Gosling is perfect with that. He has the same
context
face every
really
time.
in movies. The context really deeply influences how you perceive people's faces and everything. Not to say that that's not great acting, but it might be great cinematography.
Could be both. I'm open to both.
That would be optimal.
So now let's go a little insane again.
I got a comment though about the seventh signal.
Yeah, please.
Signal. It's 51,000 light years away. Do you see the problem? How far out was Voyager? Voyager was 70,000 light years from Earth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The spore drive. I'm pretty sure Terra Elysium is 51,000 light years away, and that's why that happened. Well, anyway, so there were several moments in this movie, episode, whatever, that reminded me of all things, the Star Wars prequels. Yeah, so there were these little droids for repairing the Enterprise, the DOT-7.
Yeah, we never saw those before.
We'll never see those again, I bet, given the backlash that probably the people online will give to it. And then, you know, with that huge destruction of that huge part of the ship that the Enterprise suffers because of the photon torpedo, immediately what came to mind was Obi-Wan saying, "Not to worry, we're still flying half a ship." It's like, we're still flying 2/3 of a ship, or 5/6 of a ship. The Enterprise was so messed up after that.
They lost too much ship. Come on, there had to be a critical system somewhere in there.
It was a great opportunity for them to refit, though, and I really appreciated the deflector dish with the golden thingy.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
That golden thingy, man, it's a great golden thingy.
Really makes you think they just used whatever was on hand back then, didn't they?
yeah, when they were building the original model. All right, so there's a lot more in this episode. There's a couple of things that kind of bothered me. The temporal stuff, we'll get into that. But who is this faceless interrogator at the end?
An admiral.
Oh. May not be that important. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
part
that's
of the Admiralty.
So
Admiral.
The Badmiral. I don't think he's bad. He actually, you know, I think the way that this integrates everything into canon, it worked well enough. It was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. They had to do something, and now they're going to be in the future, and so they don't need to worry about it anymore. They solved their problem at last.
Yeah. Now, I mean, a lot of small details that I appreciated, and then we can run through other people's commentaries eventually too. Some comments that I really liked from all the reviews I read in that first 12 hours after seeing the episode, in a very strong attempt to try to not be depressed because of my initial knee-jerk gut reactions to what I had experienced. Of course, I love that they went into the future. I'm so excited about them going into the future. I'm so excited about the untold mysteries and wealth of being related as a crew. It's like Star Trek Andromeda, which Andromeda, of course, was a Gene Roddenberry show that didn't fare very well, but had a really great premise. There's a ship from the system's Commonwealth that gets stuck in a huge battle where the Commonwealth is being destroyed by the Magog, and they're frozen in time, and they're stuck for 1,000 years. And then they come out, and the Federation equivalent in that universe is completely messed up and gone. And they have to completely rebuild it, which, you know, if they did that here, that would be kind of boring and annoying. I don't want a retread of Andromeda. But there's any number of possibilities. So anyway, we know who the faceless interrogator is, some nameless admiral. What is the insanely vast empty space in Spock's quarters for? Did you see how much space he has that's just not used?
For meditation.
But
weren't his quarters sort of spacious in the original series?
No. It was just a redress of the same room every episode of the original series. But hey, I guess
whatever they had around. Yeah.
He's the favorite lieutenant. Pike apparently consults him on major decisions, as we saw at the end of the episode. How do you feel about that, Spock? Should we go to this place? Which I did. You know what? I actually really did like seeing Pike just not flippant, but like casual in the running of his ship. In the like, all right, here's our maiden voyage of the refit version of the Enterprise. We're going to have some fun. I like that. That's great. And, of course, there's the petition, which I invited you guys to sign, which I also invite anybody listening to sign, to have a Pike series. That would be entertaining.
Absolutely 100% on board with that. The moment their ship went to warp, I thought, yes, this is a show I would watch for 10 seasons. Or maybe not 10. Like 9.5.
Might be confusing if both Star Trek Pike and Star Trek Picard are on the air.
Huh.
They will be dramatically different tones.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Or else there will be violence.
Like, what if Star Trek Picard is nonstop space violence and Star Trek Pike is about, like, philosophical speeches?
It's not going to be nonstop space
I
violence.
think it's the other way around.
I don't know.
But my title, what would my title for Star Trek Pike be? I have one. I'll come back with it, either in this episode or 20 from now. Yeah, okay.
Star Trek Pike is so good.
I'll let you know my title in 20 episodes from now.
So, let's see. Richard, I'm going to need your help with this one. Did the signals pre-exist Burnham making them? Or how did
it's a closed timeline curve. I was disappointed with that. So a closed timeline curve, that's when you travel into the past and then cause the thing that made you travel into the future. And it's
you mean
like
travel into the past?
It's where you're like, it's basically where something in the future causes something in the past that causes the thing in the future. And it's a loop, and there's no original event that starts it off, you know? And, that's always frustrating. I don't like that as a plot
There has to be an original event in my mind. I never liked that either.
I like it as like a paradox. It's kind of interesting, but it just sucks all the mystery out of why are the signals there. Well, the signals are there because if they were anywhere else, then everyone would, I don't know, it's stupid. There's no explanation.
Yeah. So here's the other
That's
thing. She doesn't do any research that we see to figure out where to place the signals in any version of the timeline. Like, I mean, does and she doesn't need to either, according to this version of the story. It just always was.
She did it.
She does it because she did it, but why did she originally do it? And how did she know to do it? And
she did it.
And why is it okay that she messes with the timeline according to the Department of Temporal... I mean, I guess according to DTI and I guess according to Section 31, this was the great, thing that had to happen the way that it happened in order that it not happen again and in order that it have happened. And again, Control was defeated too easily.
Oh, my God.
I'm not going to say it. Yeah.
Well, keep saying it because it's true.
Still true.
Apparently it put all of its brain power into one brain. It's always a problem.
Dumb.
I never make that mistake.
Yeah, I use 12 at a time. Sometimes the Baker's doesn't, but, it just felt too neat. One person. And then basically, hey, get rid of him, and the rest of the ships just don't work. As if they're not containing
Which the question then becomes,
themselves.
The question then becomes, and it's been brought up many times by different reviewers, why did they still go into the future? Richard?
I think I asked that in our last podcast. Oh, no, I didn't. I asked it before we started recording this one.
Did you travel back in time and tell yourself?
I think it's like they have to go into the future in order to safeguard the data and make sure that nothing happens. Just to be extra careful.
Don't they bring Leland with them?
His brain just exploded with the illogic.
Oh, damn, I'm sorry.
We finally got
break
that
Richard.
scene. Tyler, we finally got that scene that we wanted all season where Spock talks to a computer and that computer, like, sets fire to itself because it can't solve the logical problem. Except the computer
Yeah,
was
we've
Richard.
been waiting for that.
No.
Thanks for being
Okay.
our control stand-in, Richard.
Just
Yeah,
hit
that's
Control Alt
cool.
Delete reboot. There we go.
I'm on team AI superintelligence any day.
Yes, death to organic matter.
So, okay, I mean, that was the universe telling us how important it is that we acknowledge control. Control, how we lost the, how much could have been done with the, oh well.
Well, I mean, maybe it's still around in a covert form. Like there were all these little bugs or little particles that came out of.
Hey, looks like you survived after all.
That's our funeral dirge for control. It wasn't very long.
I think control is still around. It's in those little particles that came out of Leland, and it's just not powerful enough to control all those drones anymore. But it's still in the air or something. They're going to have to fight it.
Yeah. I would hate to think
it would be cool.
It would need more.
If
more
there
data
were
from
AI
the sphere.
versus AI. Like, that would be fun. The thing that becomes Zora that is embedded in the Discovery computer versus control on Discovery ship. That would be a fun episode to watch.
It would be.
And then I would think that I would like to see control evolving into Zora.
Ah, a redemption arc.
Right. But seeing as how the actor portrayed control, I don't see that really happening. Control seemed, as malevolent as they come. I'm not sure how that would happen. I'd like to see it, though.
Yeah, what we talked about last week, Tyler, was that, Zora, the AI from the short trek, she has to develop into having, morals. And so there could be cute little episodes where, like, oops, she accidentally killed a species. Naughty, naughty, Zora.
You can't cause extinction, Zora. You can't.
Oh, whoops! You just blew half the crew out the airlock. What do you know?
What are we going to do? It's a typical HAL 9000 scenario. All right, Zora, what do we do when we're confronted
with
with
Benny Hill music in the background?
Humans. Well, yeah, there's going to be that inevitable montage
for Discovery.
Yeah.
Zora will have to integrate her shadow.
And her shadow is control. Mind blown.
We actually had a pretty good track record throughout the last season of predicting where things were going. So I'm just saying, these ideas we're having now, it's plausible.
That's true.
It would be interesting if the writers exclusively listened to only one podcast, and ours was that podcast, and somehow they managed to do it without any views appearing on YouTube.
We got one view on some of these videos, and that is the Discovery production team.
It's a stealth view. Our viewership is completely stealth.
That's right. We're in stealth mode.
We are so, it's the startup in stealth mode, right? Let's just call it that. Forsan and Hayek ole meminese uabit.
That's right. That's
even
right.
One day these things will be pleasing to remember.
That's right.
So let's get to this, how Giorgio pronounces mechanism. Did you notice that? It was weird.
Yeah.
Mechanism.
Well, she's got some ESL issues.
I had a bit of an ear fart there.
I like that the replicators are 3D printers. Did you guys see that?
I believe we saw that back when the uniform was being built in one of Season 1's episodes.
You're right. It's always been 3D printing.
Yeah.
So why aren't shuttles and pods used in the original series in this way? And why do they have like 200 pods between the two of those ships, like in terms of support craft? And we never have that many deployed for Star Trek. Maybe they never needed an epic battle like this.
They never needed them.
Series.
It was a more peaceful time. It was simpler times. It will be simpler times.
Yeah, the politics of the Alpha and Beta quadrants are highly simplified due to the absence of the spore drive.
That's right.
And
the fact that everyone has to forget about this. It was like the memory of Discovery that was making things crazy before. But now that they suppressed that memory, everything's good. Just like how when something traumatic happens, the best way to go is to suppress the memory and completely ignore it. Maybe
the simplification. This is every episode we try to figure out a new way to redeem this. the simplification of the color scheme, the lighting, the structural appearance of all the ships in Starfleet. Maybe it was to help them, blend into a realm of sameness where they were no longer worried about the trauma of the Discovery era.
Yeah. They're just trying to calm down.
It was a form of therapy. For
that's right. That's a whole new perspective on the original series. It's, how everything has this sort of laid back sort of attitude. It's because they were just, self-care.
Oh yeah, they're really anxious on Discovery.
And this explains the habit of self-care that moves all the way through the movie era into TNG, by which time we have beige hotel rooms flying in space. Self-care has won.
It all started here. The whole trajectory of the psychological space of the Star Trek universe, it's all in response to these events
of the Federation.
That we've seen unfolding in the last 2 seasons.
So there are a lot of quotes I found from reviews. Number 1, Ash Tyler is not supposed to be alive in the eyes of the Klingons. What do we have for this? He was killed. He was a severed head for the Klingons, the appearance of whom, in the face of the Klingons, maybe this is the reason that L'Rell gets taken out as Chancellor or something. And she's replaced by someone else, or there's other stuff that happens. I don't even know.
You think we're going to see any more of this timeline, or it's all going to be in the future?
If only, Richard.
All in the future.
I think it's going to be a mix. The reason I think it's going to be a mix is because the writers have no self-control.
Plus, they're going to bring Shazad Latif back. And he is in the 23rd century.
He'll be back
running
for
Section
like
31.
A 3 to 4 season show around Section 31.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that. And so will Georgiou. Somehow she'll get back there.
But if he's billed next season, and they're going to film it after the 3rd season, as Georgiou, as Michelle Yeoh says, she said this in an interview, they wouldn't start filming until after season 3 is pretty much wrapped and aired.
Okay, so they're going to get it home by the end of season 3.
God bless
no,
it. I don't want that.
It.
No one wants that.
Why did you say it? Now they're going to listen to the podcast and, hey, we have our story.
And the journey home is going to be the most incredible journey of a mixture of compassion and violence, just the perfect mix of sweet and savory, like kettle corn. And it's going to be an unforgettable experience, the best thing anyone's ever watched.
You know, the best way that this series could end is with them never returning home.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, everybody's sworn to secrecy. The very appearance of these people means a lot of people have to go to prison the moment they talk about it.
You're right. And that
maybe
didn't happen to Spock. Yeah. So, yeah.
Maybe Discovery is going to go back, and everyone's going to be like, we can't acknowledge that you're back. And they're going to be like, I guess we better go back into the future. And
well, it would be a pain if they rematerialized right above Starfleet headquarters.
Like right during a TV broadcast.
Like, this is awkward. And Admiral looks at Spock and says, you were saying before?
You were saying. So there's another thing. Somebody said, and this was my early take on the episode, quote, it's just weird to have an extra long episode like this that offers nothing in exchange for the expanded running time, but just more or less exactly what we were told would happen last week. Strip away all the style, and this is a fairly pedestrian bit of sci-fi actioning. Now, of course, we've seen more than that in this thing, but that was something that I thought. The other piece, love is a choice we make over and over again. The implication being that you can choose to love someone and then choose to love that person again, even if you aren't quite the same person you were before. It's actually really beautiful. The key here, I think, is that Culber didn't feel he had a choice before. And once he was free to make it, he chose Paul. That's sweet.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Very good, yeah.
Maybe Star Trek in its essence is the contrast, the counterpoint, if you will, between compassion and violence. And science.
Maybe.
Yeah, we need more science.
I still feel this
it's been a while since we had
some more philosophy. Yeah, that too.
It's been a while since we had philosophy. I remember philosophy. I remember the logic extremists.
Maybe the whole of the Section 31 series is them fighting the logic extremists.
Oh, yeah. And the sad thing about going in the future is no logic extremists.
And we never hear about them in any other series, so they must be stamped out as a disease.
Or there's another sword and secrecy thing.
That would be funny if they just kept doing that. At the end of every new series, everything is a secret now.
every series ends with that guy debriefing everyone and saying you can't tell anyone or do anything that reflects knowledge of these events for the next 5 seasons.
I mean, so they've got an easy out with the Section 31 show because all of what they do is secret anyway. So nobody's going to know. Yeah. They're not going to tell anybody.
Yeah, that one's easy.
Yeah. Not a lot of that's declassified. I mean, some of that happens in the novels, but...
Well, some of that gets declassified. I'm actually reading, it's called Star Trek Available Light, and it's what happens to all of the admirals and things after everything that Section 31 becomes broadcast to the knowledge of the general public and Control loses its grip or lets go of its grip on everything. Your AI, the innate intelligence, evolves beyond its regular programming and has Bashir and the woman that he falls in love with believe that they've eliminated the code of your AI, of Control. But in fact, Control has just advanced to become an interstellar artificial intelligence that's a distributed network throughout the Milky Way. And its own survival is ensured, and the survival of the human race is ensured. Section 31 is destroyed once and for all, and all traces of the AI are removed. This is the story that could not have been told. And that I'm actually glad wasn't told because it's a good enough story on its own in another medium. They needed a really clear villain that they could fight and then defeat and then have over by the end of the season. And it's just that Control had to get bastardized to become something like that in the regular Star Trek universe.
That's a shame. But we're here now.
The other stuff is Control 2.0.
Yeah. Who says it can't return in some capacity?
They just make another one. They're like, yeah, we had some bugs last time, but there won't be any bugs this time. It'll be just like the Boeing 737 MAX. No bugs.
And it gets subtler. That's right. That's interesting. Which then really integrates very well into the original Control story. Control.
Maybe that's not even. Maybe it's not Control 2.0. Maybe that's Control 3.0. Maybe that's Control 95.
Yeah, Control. Okay, so maybe it still exists everywhere else, and maybe this whole thing was staged. There we go. Maybe this whole thing was staged to make Section 31 and Starfleet think that Control had been defeated at the same time as also. So no. This is it. Control actually wanted the sphere data, but it staged a death that was simplistic enough to have everybody think that it was gone, when in fact it's not, so that it can come back in force later and continue with its regular plan, its regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, you get to a point where, like, to really execute that plan, you'd have to be so intelligent and so competent. It starts to become difficult.
I really love the idea of an artificial superintelligence that exists in the shadows behind Starfleet for all of the history of the Federation, that is outwitting all of us and outmaneuvering all of us. It's interesting. It adds a wrinkle of, like, terror into the Star Trek universe.
It's controlling all of us.
Hence the name.
Yeah.
Well, we found the answer to that. Now if we could just figure out why there was so much dumb space violence. I'm kidding. It was beautiful.
Because Control, that's what Control wanted. Control wanted it to be dumb space violence so that no one would question. So that's how it went down.
Believable.
At a certain point, this becomes like a divine providence situation. Like,
yeah, that's basically what it is. Control is actually God. What is it they say in one of the early episodes? They say any technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from God.
Yeah, that's true. Any sufficiently advanced extraterrestrial intelligence is indistinguishable from God. Yes.
There's this whole theme in, like, the first few episodes of this about, like, faith and science, and they sort of dropped that theme, but maybe they didn't.
Well,
maybe it's just gone into hiding.
Sort of like Control. So I think, Richard, do you remember My Religion is Science?
Oh, I remember that. That was good. She says right before talking about her, like, chakras or something.
It was
or
so bad. It was so bad. That same episode gave us be bold, be brave, and be courageous. So that's okay.
That's pretty good. A little redundant.
Yeah, be brave, be courageous. So, I mean, this season also gave us, so in retrospect, this season gave us If Memory Serves. It gave us the idea of Section 31 engaging with time travel, which is itself new and interesting. So there's a theory on YouTube by this guy, Lore Reloaded, really like it, that it's interesting. And it says that basically the time travel people from the 27th through the 31st centuries are Control. Daniels are not Control. They're members of Section 31. And if Section 31 is so obsessed with preserving the Federation, the Federation Temporal Agency is also obsessed with preserving the Federation. Could they not be the same people? Thoughts? Question mark.
I think it's plausible.
I think they just killed Tyler.
I agree with Richard. Death to all organic.
Okay, he's back.
So it's a season retrospective now. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do this.
There was a point in the middle of this season when I was really excited about it, when they were just starting to introduce this idea of the AI superintelligence that's in the future and it's reaching into the past. And it was like there's this awesome deep vein of cool ideas that have come up in like the world of sci-fi and among like rationalist communities in the last like 10 years or so. And I was like, yeah, we're going to see some really interesting new ideas. And then it kept on building up and it kept on building up. And at some point I was like, this keeps on building up. And then it sort of plateaued into this thing, space violence. But I was very excited in the middle there. Basically, when Control was this nebulous cloud of cool ideas, and before it became Leland, basically, became evil Leland. Eveland.
Level.
Lee-level. I kind of want to go back and rewatch the whole season just to see how it hangs together. But I won't do that anytime soon. I think I need some distance from this in order to enjoy it more.
Well, you're going to get that distance before season 3 starts.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, it's not for a year.
Not for a year and a half if their production schedule is anything like the last season
really?
was. Well, when did Discovery Season 1 premiere?
Yeah, that's right.
And then when did
Discovery Season 1 premiered in early September, I believe, of 2017.
2017, yeah.
And it ended, there was that weird hiatus where they couldn't decide if it was going to be 2 seasons or not because the authors don't have any self-control. And but it ended in like February or so, right? And
yeah,
and then it was a year. It was 2 years. No, it ended in 2018. Yeah, it was about a year till the next one started.
Who knows? Maybe it'll be just that amount of time.
Well, I love Pike.
Might even be quicker.
I love
Me
Burnham's
too.
arc. I love Spock's arc. I guess I love Leland's arc.
Who cares about Leland?
I like the way Georgiou was laughing when Leland was going down.
Can't get that out of my head. She's like,
I wrote in my notes, I guess it's okay because he's a computer.
Of course you would say that.
Every time we watch a Star Trek episode or movie now, there's just going to be a moment where we all turn to Richard and watch him celebrate the victory of an artificial intelligence over organic being.
I'll be there with him. Don't worry. We'll just have to watch each other's faces and look for micro expressions.
That's right. It's all about those micro expressions.
Well, I guess I liked Hugh's arc, kind of, I guess.
It was so hard for me to understand the Hugh arc because I really don't understand what he went through. He was like in an interdimensional nexus, like fighting for his survival for a year. I don't really have a, life experience I can grasp onto that's like my point of reference to understand what he went through. He's like out of his, he was transported out of his body, and his consciousness went back in his body. Like, what is this? I didn't really.
The depiction of his journey. It was nebulous. There's not much you can really glom onto there. It's like just sort of forced to the surface because we have to check in with them. We didn't really follow them.
You guys haven't heard me eating the whole episode, have you?
I haven't. I hope you all have around me.
Yeah, I've done other things. Have you heard me?
That has done much worse things.
What have you been doing?
Well, it involves eating.
Did you have someone in the spore drive chamber?
Did you have violent sex with a spore drive?
Well, I would never do that.
That escalated
Not a
quickly.
spore drive, anyway.
If you did that, it probably would not be the worst content if we want to spread.
Oh, Saru. Saru had a great arc throughout this season. Speaking of violence.
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about
he had
him.
his transformation, and then he was like a little bit awkward because he was a little bit too bold, and then he settled back into proper behavior.
His training kicked in. I'm surprised we didn't see more of what went on with Saru after the first transformation of a Kelpian into what Saru became, because the Ba'ul have always denied any Kelpians the knowledge of what they could become.
They too can become vicious killers.
Like everyone else in the universe.
Richard, let's try to recount for a moment the moments of violence throughout the season.
Here we go.
Count. I mean, I like that the Ba'ul, like that big thing that came out of the pool, started attacking Saru. That was good. There's
cool.
The thing that when Leland got infected with control and the thing went into his eye, it like punctured his eyes when he was like looking very carefully in those lenses or something. And then suddenly some needles pop out. That was good.
We still don't know why.
Ooh,
that's
can I
how
interject?
it works. You may, yeah.
Oh, thank you. How cool was it that Burnham was shooting at basically just a bunch of nanomachines floating in the air, slowly creeping towards her?
It was cool.
That was one of my favorite moments. She had that look on her face like, 2 phasers and I'm not doing anything.
How cool was it when Burnham was almost like fucking dying?
Oh, in the room where they just needed to kill her, but they decided instead to kill her in a really, really painful, drawn out way.
They could have just shot her.
They could have given her, a painless, lethal injection.
Terrible.
Yeah, they could have. Well, I don't think they would have known whether or not her mother could come back, or whether the angel could come. But they didn't know it was her mother at the time. Come back and cure her of a lethal injection.
They thought the angel was her, and if the angel is her, that means that she has to survive. That means they could do anything to her. That means she's immortal.
God, what if someone came up and shot her in the head? That would have put a wrinkle in the whole has to survive thing.
I don't think we had a moment of violence last week. I think we had a profusion of moments of compassion.
Yeah, because there was so much violence.
I told you.
They didn't know how to balance it throughout the season. I'm so sorry.
The violence and the compassion always add up to the same. It's a trade-off. It's like potential energy and kinetic energy. It's always conserved.
Yes.
So we get the explosion where Pike is brutally injured. That was the violence for that episode.
Which doesn't happen yet, apparently.
Before that, we get the fight between Georgiou and Leland on the ground next to the suit.
Oh, yeah, and a nice neck snap.
A nice neck snap, yeah.
Pretty good. It's okay.
In Brother, we get, in the very first episode, we get, what kind of violence did we have? I guess that guy in the small ship, he ran into an asteroid after, arrogantly proclaiming his ability to knock into my asteroid.
Yeah, the guy's like, I'm such a good pilot, and then he suddenly died.
Quote-unquote red shirt moment.
Yeah, except he wasn't wearing a red shirt. And then they went into the station where Janet Reno was, and she was like, there were a lot of injured people, which indicates past violence.
Use your imagination.
And then there's the New Eden, where they had these flashbacks to the whatever catastrophe, where they were saved by the Red Angel and taken to.
Oh yeah, that was a little later on. But the New Eden, the best moment of violence was when Pike gets shot. Like he takes a phaser shot.
Oh yeah,
point blank or something. Yeah.
Yeah, in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, and Point of Light, there's like the brutal murder of a baby, and or the depiction of a brutal murder of a baby, and Vogue, I guess.
Yeah, real Point of Light there. Let me look at my notes.
Ooh, the mysterious sphere. They thought it was doing violence. Well, this is more conceptual violence.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Saru tries to get Burnham to do violence to his ganglia, and then the violence turns out to have already been done.
Oh, yeah. He's begging Burnham to kill him. That's another one of those. Like, another theme throughout the season is these emotional experiences that are, like, so dialed up to 11 that you don't know what to do with them. Like, your friend begging you to kill him because he's going into some kind of molting phase. I have this note. I have this note for the episode An Obol for Charon, and I don't remember what this is in reference to. But the note says, it's really awkward when you enter into a death pact with someone and you're ready to go, and you have emotional sex, and then it turns out you're okay after all.
Damn.
I don't think that happened.
It did, but he's creating the scenario thinking, how relatable is this?
I don't remember what inspired me to write that note. Maybe I was looking at my wrong notes file. Maybe I was looking at my life notes file.
Well, we have a reason to watch the episode.
You went into a death pact.
It's been an interesting few months.
Damn. Oh. Well.
Discovery made someone kill themselves. Terrible.
Probably. It's a lot of violence.
All right, so one way the violence in this episode fell short. So you know that the Control's basic strategy when it's attacking Discovery is to weaken Discovery's shields, right? And so there's a real golden opportunity here for the thing that the only thing that really makes me excited in Star Trek Space Battles. The only thing they could say. The thing that really gets my heart rate up. Really just makes me want to scream with tension is the shield percentages. And they did not mention the shield percentages.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did multiple times. 8%, 20%, 36%. Is this ringing any bells?
Went down to 9%.
I missed it, or I didn't write it in my notes. Oh, okay. Well,
it makes me wonder just how vulnerable they're going to be.
Like 10%. Oh, no, wait, 9%. Like, she's really upset about it.
Yeah.
She just lost another percent.
I retract the complaint. And the complaint is now a compliment.
We actually get double the shield percentages. We get the Enterprises declared on their bridge, and we get
the
Discovery.
same time.
At the same time. Seconds apart from one another. If you weren't sick of shield percentages before this episode, this is the nail in the coffin of shield percentages for anyone.
Holy crap. What a misfire. Oh,
welcome to wrong.
I didn't put it in my notes, and I forgot about it.
Oh, man, it's okay. But you're all about that, so that's why we're laughing.
Shield percentages were clearly the central point of this episode. How could you miss that? It's like
I think I'll have
missing
to watch it again.
That the episode is called Star Trek Discovery.
Oh my God. It's okay, man. You'll get them next time.
You'll get them next time. Yeah. Exactly. You'll knock them dead. He'll knock them dead because he'll get rid of all their shields.
That's right.
You should reach out to the cast and crew and let them know that
We've got a Twitter page.
It saved your friend's life because you announced the shield percentages during the season finale, and that you would like to see that happen more in the upcoming season.
Damn it, Tyler! Don't make fun of my one comment to Shaniqua Martin Green that really impacted this season.
I apologize. I'm just saying.
Actually, I mean, if somebody, just imagine a small child whose favorite thing is the shield percentages.
That was Richard. In that moment, he was a small child just shouting with glee. I mean, you're an adult. But,
it's more of a taste that I developed as an adult. It's an acquired taste, I think.
Oh. Huh.
What would you say is your fundamental motivation for appreciation of shield percentages? What does it feel like to you when you get to hear about the? Is it just you're just excited, or are you excited and scared, or what is it?
I mean, it depends on the percentage. Different ranges have different emotional effects.
Okay.
Each number is
70% versus 1%.
Emotion. Each number is such a specific emotion, you can't even describe it with anything other than that particular shield percentage.
Well,
I felt like 1% shields, man.
I felt like 1% shields.
That's pretty bad. That's when panels are exploding.
Did you see the
panels
number
are already
of rocks
exploding
on the bridge?
Yeah, it really on the Enterprise bridge. It really looked like there was a flamethrower behind that panel that exploded.
Holy crap! There were flames. Yes, there were flames.
It really looked like they had installed a flamethrower back
How
there
did number one continue pushing fake buttons through all that?
Maybe when they refit the Enterprise, they're going to get rid of the flamethrowers behind the panels.
This is an unsafe thing to have on the bridge.
Who installed these?
Gun battle.
There was a Captain Georgiou here recently, and she made a suggestion that the captain really gelled with.
And all of Starfleet decided that it was important to follow the suggestion of this control thing that she was. So.
Oh, good help indeed.
I think it is interesting to try to figure out how she comes back, because she's got to come back at some point.
Well, either Discovery comes back at the end of season 3, in which folds right into the shooting schedule for the Section 31 series once season 3 is complete, or she finds her way back and Discovery stays in the future, or she finds a way to communicate with the 23rd century from the 33rd.
I mean, if Section 31 turns into this force in the future that's controlling the past, then it would be completely consistent that she doesn't.
Easy, yeah. Well, it would also be easy for them to send her back if they decided that she needed to be back there. Yeah.
You need to go take care of some stuff.
Well, also in the short trek, we don't see the crew. So I think they might at some point get sent back, or they might go somewhere else, or they might leave the Discovery. That would be okay. They leave the Discovery in that nebula thing for a while.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then they return. There you go.
Or not.
Then it'll just be like Star Trek, the newest series. Where's Discovery?
They can still call it Discovery if it's not on Discovery.
It would be interesting if there was a whole episode like the series finale where it's literally just Zora talking to herself amidst a ship of no crew.
I'm so
lonely.
Sounds like experimental cinema.
I'm so lonely. I cannot tell you how lonely I am.
Hour and 47 minutes of runtime. And she plays solitaire.
She gets really good at it. It's Minesweeper.
She beats herself in chess. Minesweeper, yeah. And she blows herself up in Minesweeper, and then an explosion comes out of a panel. Like, whoops.
Well, so there's this thing that the Junk Ball Media guy, he's got a really great channel. He comes out every week or so with a new kind of retrospective on some ship or funny feature of Star Trek. He says, that there's a lot of rocks that come out of the walls, like literally rocks, whenever something explodes. Rocks. Like, where are these rocks from? What are they? Why?
Tiny angry
why
AIs
rocks?
that we're told not to throw rocks on ship bridges. Ponder that.
No, seriously, it's probably like some sort of destruction of components, and when they get destroyed, they like fasten together.
They fracture, yeah.
They bond together, and then they fracture, yeah.
It's some future alloy. These ships are not made out of the metals we're familiar with. They're made out of something we can't even conceive of, and so when it breaks, it comes down like rocks.
Huh, interesting. It's just the nature of the metal itself.
So final ratings for this episode.
I'm going to give it a shield percentage 80%.
Outstanding.
It's unlikely I'm going to watch it again.
Tyler?
Said Sweet Sorrow Part 2. I'll call it. What am I saying? What do I want to say? It moves.
It does.
I give it a shrug.
Oh, man.
Better things.
Well, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10, but I think we're gonna go bring it down actually to an 8.3. And the season as a whole, I give it an 8 out of 10.
That's pretty harsh.
That's fair.
I might give it slightly more than 8, but not a whole lot more.
Like 0.2001?
Not that minute. 83, like this episode.
Thoughts and hope for the future. What do we think they're going to do in the actual 33rd century?
Encounter the Drace, have some crazy adventures, find some new planets, try to get home,
discover
further bonding.
Maybe actually all of the Federation gets drunk, and that's why it sounds like the Drace.
Yeah, there's going to be a profusion of alcohol in the future. Somewhere in the 27th century, someone figures out how to just generate alcohol out of the air. And everyone
That's
uses
boring.
self-control.
500 years later, they're still drunk. I think the Federation would have collapsed very quickly after that, let alone 500 years later.
Well, here's my last thought on Discovery. Let us never speak of this again with the penalty of treason.